Welcome to the Thoroughly Wrong Project with Lalo and Bob. We appreciate you spending some time with us today. Let's jump right into that weekly dose of things you can disagree with. Take it away, guys.
And it looks like we are. Good morning and welcome to the Thoroughly Wrong Project. And Lalo, guess what?
What's up, man?
September 18th of this year put us 2 years online, man.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, I know.
Why didn't
Shit.
you bring that up September 18th?
Well, I didn't find out till last night. I was going back through looking at episodes.
It's like you're telling me Merry Christmas in February.
Yeah. Yeah, happy anniversary, darling. No, I was looking at our views, and we range from like 180 down to 2, but this last week got like 5 times the views that we usually get, and so that sent me on that little down the rabbit hole, and I looked at the very first one. It was September 18th 2020. So
Well, that's pretty cool, man.
it is.
It doesn't seem like that long, but at the same time, it kind of does.
Yeah, and podcasts on average last a total of 3 months.
That
So
just shows you that there's probably like a shit ton of there's like a lot of people that like try it out, and then it just kind of like fizzles out pretty quickly.
yeah, and there you go. We're 2 years. We're like 53 episodes. We actually have like 60 episodes, but some of them I just didn't. There was either a technical issue or I got busy and forgot what the fuck we said. But now I can have an episode done in a matter of an hour. So it went
Perfected the craft.
it went from a 2-day affair of freaking out to it's just I know how to level everything, get it done, put it online, it's done. So congratulations, happy anniversary, darling.
No, that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, yeah. I still remember you standing in that hallway and like, you want to do a podcast? Like, I guess, I don't know.
Yeah, because that was during like the quarantine and all that stuff. I remember that.
Yeah, it was great.
So
We did good.
I had to find something to do,
Yeah, I like it. I started that other one. It's a video podcast for fitness and holistic health with Roland Brown. I finished the second one yesterday. The first episode, it was different because I had, you helped me order this computer, but just because you have a fast computer, I had to figure out the software for that one, and it is it's a nightmare, and it took me 3 days to figure it out. I almost gave up.
What software do you guys use?
I use Zencaster. I was talking to a therapist from the county yesterday. He's going to start a podcast for mental health, and he's like, "So what do you use?" And I said, "Well, I recorded it in Zencaster, then I download it, and then I use VLC to strip the audio off of the video. Then I put the audio into Audacity and mix the audio of the two streams and level them out. And then I use Pinnacle 26 to edit the two streams together, or it's actually 3 streams, so an audio and 2 videos, and you got to level all that out." And he's like, "I don't know if I want to do a podcast or not." It's not easy, man. It's not easy at all.
That's a lot. I didn't know like that much went into it.
Yeah, with this one, we record the audio, pull it down.
They don't have like an all-in-one type of thing.
They do, but I don't want to figure it out. Number one, and number two, they charge by the minute. They charge, what you're doing, and I have everything mixed. I've already done all the intros, the outros, the music is. I wrote the music. It's from when I was we call it a DJ. I wrote 5 albums under the pseudonym OCDB, and I used that music. But I'm having another guitarist come in. Robert Dews is coming in, and he's going to write the music for the intro and the outro for the other podcast on the guitar. So to soften it down a little bit.
Okay.
It's
No, yeah, that sounds dope. I think, like you said, you kind of just have to like um, do it enough times to where you figure it out, and then it kind of like smooths itself out. You know?
yeah. The hardest thing about the whole thing is handling all the social media for it, because you have to put it on Facebook, and then you have to put it on your. I usually put it on my regular Facebook, and then I have Facebook for the Thoroughly Wrong Project, and then there's Twitter and Instagram and YouTube, and then all those things have to piggyback on each other and tell each other where the shit is. That takes about an hour to do that. So
Oh,
I
okay.
spend an hour here, an hour editing, and another hour. So it takes 3 hours per on this one, and about 5 hours per episode on the other one because it's a video.
Yeah, I can imagine the video like element adds like a whole other like dimension of complexity. You know?
Yeah, yeah. But it also I get a lot. We get a lot of views that way.
Yeah.
People go after it. Hint, hint, fucker.
My freaking room is like hella dark, so I don't even think I could do a video if I wanted to. You just be see a black screen.
Well, okay, fine. I'm
Hey, it
good.
might
Every
process
now
faster though.
and every now and
The,
then a cat would walk by.
nah, I lock my cats out because it'd be bugging too much.
So, how was your week, man?
It was pretty good. I'm trying to think like what all has happened. I mean, it was a pretty normal week, I'd say. I'm just looking forward to like the weather and the holidays because with that comes like time off.
Yeah, definitely,
So,
definitely.
but yeah, I mean, can't complain.
How's how's the road? I know you still work on the Rome team.
It's going good. We're kind of we're like transitioning right now to like a new building, or like we're about to start finally. So
Oh, okay.
that should that should be interesting. I think
What?
it would like change the I think I don't know the chemistry maybe of the team because we'd all be like in one giant room kind of.
Oh, okay. It's gonna change the
So
dynamic.
yeah, maybe we'll see. Maybe
All
it's a
right.
good thing. Maybe it's a bad thing.
Maybe it's good. Maybe it's bad. You never know until you try, right?
one way to find out.
I wonder if these wings will work. I don't know. That's the way I handle shit.
Yeah, but
Should we
I'm
do a
very like
podcast? Why not?
I'm very like I kind of just go with the flow on like most things, you know.
Yeah.
So like I'm very good at like avoiding like issues or like bad things when it comes to like the workplace.
Yeah.
Um, but I know some people aren't. So we'll see what this move brings
I,
to
I
the
hope it
team.
works, man. I mean, nobody wants to work for go to a workplace that's contentious, or nobody wants to do that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man. Well,
No, I
it'll
mean it's
work.
not bad. It's not bad right now. It's just like I feel like there's always things that come with big changes, you know.
Yeah, always.
So yeah, we'll see. We're supposed to be moving in pretty soon, so I'm kind of the only thing I'm sad about is that I'm gonna lose out on my like little corner cubicle. I kind of like
Yeah.
being in that corner. It's like just keep to yourself. Nobody can see you or bug you.
Yeah, and the cat's out the window. And I know
Yeah,
no one knows what the hell we're talking about, but that's my old cubicle.
yeah, I remember. So
I loved it back there. That's like, you could somebody for everybody who's listening in the room I was in when I worked for the county. In the back of the room, in the corner, is a window and the cubicle. is in that corner. So I got that one. I was there for a few months, and somebody could open the door and say, "Is anybody in here?" And you could just be quiet.
Nobody would suspect a thing.
Yeah, and sometimes they didn't say anything. They would just come in and walk around, and you could see they were looking for something, and then they would just leave. They never came back to that corner, which is fine with
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. So that's probably the thing I'll miss the most.
Well, I got something pretty big. I'm not going back to work, man. I'm going to continue to.
I was about to say, did you win? Was it you that won the lottery?
No, yeah, I tried, but I'm. I talked to my wife last night, and she and I decided that I I have enough skills and I have enough network now, and the way things are going, I'm just going to continue to um, teach school 2 times a week, and the rest of the time I'm going to work on Health Shift Revolution, the podcast, and I'm supposed to maybe be on the morning show on KBAK,
Mm-hmm.
on the health report and the health alert, and things are looking up, man. So
That's good. That's very. It's one of those things where, like, it's something that you're very like passionate about,
yeah,
and then
that
you're
that
able to
was
find a way to like make a living off of it. You know.
yeah, that's the thing we talked about last night. It's like I'm good at it. Um, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I work out every day. I know a lot about exercise and diet. I have a mental health background, so that helps. And it seems like a good fit for me. It makes me happy to think that I would be doing something like fitness, even at my age. But fitness is something that has to be a part of your life if you want your life to be better until you die. I mean, you see octogenarians, septuagenarians up there fucking walking, taking 5 mile walks every day. So I hope it works for me. I believe it
Yeah.
will. I have enough passion for it. I have the skills for podcasting. I have skills to be on the air, and I'm not that guy that I was 10 years ago that didn't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
So that's my thing. I'm not coming back to mental health. I'm just going to go my own way.
Were you planning on coming back?
Yeah, I've sat in 2 interviews in the last 2 weeks. One for Clinica Sierra Vista and one for Henrietta Wheel.
Oh, okay.
And both one of them was Wheel was like we operate a lot like the county. You're going to have 55 to 70 caseload, homeless people, and I was just like, oh God, no, no, no. I couldn't, I can't, I didn't want to go back to that. And then I sat for Clinica Sierra Vista this week, and let me talk about that later. That was the weirdest interview I've ever been in my life, and screw it, I'll talk about it now. Have you ever been in a group interview?
Yeah, like a panel interview,
No.
or oh no, like multiple candidates.
Yeah.
No, but just by hearing about it, I know that's like the worst fucking idea I've ever heard of.
Wow, man, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
it sounds terrible.
I got hit by a train on that day because I was, first of all, at I'm good at mental health, so it clicked in my head that all these years that I've been doing interviews, and here's some good advice for everybody listening. If you are good at your job and you are good at what you do and you like what you do, don't worry about your interview, because just relax, because whatever questions they're going to ask you, you can answer. Even the dreaded, tell us about yourself. I fucking hate that. 5'10". I don't know. A lot of people panic when they hear that question, but the thing is, I was sitting there. I was like chilling. I had gotten up and exercised. I had a smoothie. I you took a good dump, or you don't have to go to the bathroom. Everything's fine. You're waiting, and there's 3 people in the room. And she comes out and she calls all 3 of our names. And I thought, okay, well, there's another waiting room back here, so we're going to wait back there for a while. Nope. We all 3 sat down, man. And I was like, and she started explaining. She said, "Do you have any questions before we start?" And I said, "Are you actually pitting us against each other?" I mean, I didn't pull any punches, dude. You've known me for a long time. I just say shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I said, "Are you pitting us against each other?" And she said, "Oh, no, no. She's going to answer a question, and then you're going to answer the same question. And you're not allowed to say ditto, and you're not allowed to use her words." So, and I was like, "So you're pitting us against each other?" And she was like, "No, no, no, no." And as soon as it fucking started, dude, I knew it. You're pitted against another person in the same room for the same job.
That sounds like some fucking like Roman shit,
Yeah.
or like I
Dude,
don't know.
like minds, because that's what I said. I said, this is like a gladiator thing, isn't it?
May the strongest survive.
Yeah, I did really well in the interview because, again, as as I've progressed, mentally, physically, socially in the last few years, as I've progressed, I've lost my fear and my anxiety of situations, because when it comes down to it, no one's going to ever get hurt in an interview, and that's the way I look at it. You're either going to do well or you're not, and if you don't do well, fucking walk away. There's 10 other interviews waiting on you. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So it was this weird, when the interview was done, I walked outside, and that's when I kind of made that decision. I was like, I don't want to do this. This is a game, a bullshit game that I don't want to play anymore. And so, I started the transition in my head right there, and I tried to in my own head, tried to start a positive feedback loop. So I started counting all the things that I can do, that I want to do, because in my head, because you're good at something, that doesn't mean you should do it. It's ridiculous to think, if I'm mechanically inclined and I'm good at working on cars, but I fucking hate working on cars, then I shouldn't do that. So I'm good at mental health, and I think that can bleed over into almost anything, and which it has, because like I've been
Yeah.
saying,
Because I
I
mean, all
have,
that is you're working with people, like
yeah,
understanding people and how they work, how they think,
yeah,
and you can apply that to like a lot of different like sectors.
yeah. So I'm on a different journey, as is our
No, that's
country.
good.
Did you notice?
It seems like it's much of the same journey actually after these elections.
No, no, come on now. We were
Well,
going down a dark fucking hole there for a while, man.
I mean, the same as in like leadership, because I mean they voted everybody back in, so
Right.
I ain't mad at it though.
Yeah, but are we going to have an incarcerated septuagenarian for president next time? He's going to run it from his hotel suite.
I don't know. I think the Republican Party is like at a very like important like point,
Yeah, a crossroads.
like they could either crash and burn in the next 2 years, or they could like try to figure some shit out to like uh get some other like votes back.
Yeah.
I don't think they're smart enough to do that one though. And
I don't know.
I don't think Trump's he's too prideful to like kind of just accept like defeat and like people moving on from him. He ain't gonna go, he's not gonna go down without a fight. And
Right.
I think that fight's gonna fuck up the Republican Party like pretty bad.
Now, see, I'm seeing it maybe go the other way,
I don't see
because
him like conceding to like, all right, you guys should vote for DeSantis. He's like the better candidate. He's gonna go. He might, but like he's gonna fight till like the end.
I don't see him going away quietly. But It's like that old. It's like that old saying when you have the the partner, the romantic partner that you don't want anymore. It's like you don't have to go away quietly, but you have to go away.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's like that's inevitable. Like he's gonna just fade away eventually. But
Hmm.
like the damage he's gonna do, um, I think it's one of those things where all like his Trump like BS, like it worked in 2016.
Yeah,
Um, and like because it worked, they kind of had to like roll with it. The Republican Party, even though probably a lot of them didn't really like it.
well, they didn't like it. You could tell because there was a lot of pushback in the beginning, and then that pushback became acquiescence.
Right. So now they're so then they kind of because he won, they kind of accepted it and they kind of followed his lead. But now that it's like not popular again or becoming not popular, um, I think it's going to be hard for them to kind of like pull a 180,
Yeah,
because all these people are going to be like, well, you said this, like Republicans themselves, like the voters, they're going to be like, well, you said this like 6 months ago. Now you're saying this. Um, but I think, and I mean, politicians do that all the time, they like
right.
flip flop on shit all the time. But I think the difference is that these things that they're talking about, like these people feel very passionate about, and they're like dumb stuff, they're like election was stolen, and it's all this like conspiracy bullshit.
Yeah,
So when the politicians go 180 on that, because they're so passionate about it, I feel like they're gonna feel extra like betrayed,
yeah.
And I
That's
think that's what's gonna hurt them, because then they're gonna feel like, oh, like fuck you, like you guys are like sellouts, you're part of the swamp, and you know, you're getting paid by George Soros and all this bullshit, all the shit that they always say now,
the same shit. We'll go back to the same rhetoric that we had before, which is fine. It's less dangerous anyway. It
And
lets
I
me
think
live out my life quietly.
yeah, and I think what that's gonna cause is a lot of more or less, actually less voter turnout for Republicans.
But
And I
don't
mean,
you
they're
think
already
that
struggling as it
maybe
is.
don't you think that maybe like the candidates the Republicans just could have fucking wiped us out this time because historically when the president is mired in so many problems like high gas prices, recession, all the shit that's happening to Biden and his approval rating plummets. That's why they predicted the red wave because the red wave it always is that
Mhm.
way. The president goes south and the other party takes over. This is the first time ever that didn't happen. So I'm thinking maybe that there's a base of Republicans out there that are completely sane that should have been on the ballot, but they weren't because everybody was just literally afraid of Donald Trump.
Well,
And when we
oh,
lose that fear, then the rest of that sane Republican Party could rise up and just kind of wash that away. Like, let's not listen to that shit anymore. Let's not do that. Let's do this.
yeah. Well, Democrats actually poured a bunch of money into Republican candidates.
Yeah.
They poured them into like the MAGA candidates because they felt that they were easier to defeat, come election time. And it was kind of like it's a pretty risky move,
Yeah. Like
It could
Newsom did
backfire
the
pretty
same
bad.
thing. Governor Newsom did the same thing. He didn't even campaign. He put up billboards in Texas.
Yeah. So, I mean, it paid off,
Yeah.
and they were right. Like
Yes.
people were tired of like because I mean, Trump only like he based his like endorsement of candidates not on like the quality of candidate, but on like their loyalty to the
On their
candidate.
fealty to him. Yes.
So if you look at them, like they're pretty like shitty candidates,
Yes.
Like what's that? What's that lady from? I think she's from Nevada. Carrie Lake. Is she from Nevada?
She's the Arizona governor.
Arizona?
Yeah.
Did she
Carrie Lake
win?
is scary.
She's like, she used to be like a journalist, right?
Yes.
So, or like even, that's even a better example. Herschel Walker, you know,
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but
like Herschel Walker as a candidate, like
right.
he's, like Dave Chappelle calls him, he's observably like stupid, you know?
Yeah. He is. He's absolutely the stupidest political uh, he what's candidate that I've ever seen
Yeah.
in my life. He says the stupidest shit, and you're just like shocked, and everyone's like, "Well,
Yeah. So it's like, candidates like them, like there's a bunch of them out there, you know?
he's going to get crushed, don't you think?"
Um,
Because
yeah. I
the
mean, it
only
doesn't matter at this
way,
point, but I do think he's going to lose the runoff.
well, the only reason that he was even neck and neck with what's the guy's name,
Raphael Warnock.
Warnock, was because everyone was wondering what MAGA was going to do. Well, now that MAGA has started to fall apart and Trump's starting to fall apart, I don't think Herschel Walker will have the support that he needs at all. That people
Yeah.
just finally be like, they'll breathe a sigh of relief that they don't have to fucking vote for that idiot.
Yeah. And I mean, now it's like kind of irrelevant because of the,
Yeah,
they got the 50. So I don't think they're going to like, there's no point in like pouring a bunch of money into this runoff election, you know?
right. But it would be
So,
nice to have 51-49,
yeah. I
and
mean,
we
they're
will
gonna,
have it.
yeah. So, yeah. So it's like candidates like that, um, Trump endorses and he vouches for, and
Yeah.
they lost. Like a few of them won. Don't get me wrong, but I would say most of them, lost and did pretty bad.
Yep.
And it's kind of the like that shifting of the tide, you know.
Well, now the all the investigations for Trump will stay in place until they're completed. They won't be voted down and dismantled.
Yeah,
And that's a good
at least
thing.
for 2 years.
Well, I think it'll be over by 2 years. I think that the indictments will come down. And once you're indicted, you can't dodge that. You have to go to court.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more like I really could care less what happens to Trump. Like, I'm pretty well. I'm like heavily convinced that nothing major will happen to him.
Yeah.
Um, but at this point, like, I don't care. Like, to me, he's like irrelevant in like the political sphere, and he's becoming more irrelevant like by the day. It was kind of like it's like a fad, you know.
Yeah,
It's like super popular for like a little bit, but
like bell-bottom pants.
yeah. So I mean, I'm just more. The thing that interests me the most is like the response of the Republican Party and how they try to like turn shit around because they're gonna have to. If not, they're done. Like it's over. Like forever.
Forever? They'll
Uh,
recover. They'll recover. It's, you
I
know,
mean, it would take a long time though. Like, and I don't know, man. Like this newer generation's really pulling their weight, especially at the ballot box.
what's
So,
the what's the next wave look like? So I can get ready. You got to keep me informed, man.
well, I mean, did you see the voter turnout for like young people?
Huh?
It was like record breaking for like midterms. That's literally what caused the red wave to like stop in its tracks. It's the young vote because they were record numbers, and one they were like heavily Democratic.
Well, good. That's
So
good.
And I mean, I feel like that's only going to get like stronger every election. Because I mean, they turned out like this for midterms. Like nobody goes to fucking midterms, you know,
Yeah.
especially not kids, college kids. You know, people in their 20s, even 30s. Like for a midterm, that's unheard of.
Well, that's good. That's
It's
good.
very good.
I would like to see the population more in control of our country, and that's how we
Yeah,
do it in a democracy. You go and fucking vote.
yeah. The more people vote, the better.
Yeah,
Because I mean, it's a statistical fact that the more people vote, the more Democrats win. Like
yeah.
that's why their messaging is always like get out and vote. Like they don't even have to tell you who to vote for because that's just how it goes, you know.
They just have those campaigns on MTV. Vote,
Like yeah, go out and vote.
rock the vote. I remember that one.
So yeah, so like uh, that's I mean in my eyes as a you know radical leftist, I think that's a good thing.
Well, I dropped the ball, man. I'm not even gonna say drop the ball. That means I had intent and was going to try. This is the first election since I've been 18 years old that I didn't vote in. I did not fucking care. It was a situation where I cared, but I did not have hope that Carrie Lake and Herschel Walker and Dr. Oz and all the fucking circus that was happening. I was just like, nah,
You're
I
prepared for it.
I don't care. I don't care because if this is the kind of trash that is going to appear in these elections, Prop 26 where out of state gambling and Prop 27 out of state gambling and all this fucking barrage of advertising that hit me, it just hit me wrong, Lalo. I was just like, fuck it. This is stupid. It's a waste of my time
Well, I
because
mean, there's always
I'm not in control.
what I always tell people, um, when they kind of see it that way, is that I mean that's fine and that's very like I completely get why people would think like that.
Yeah.
But I also tell them like there's more to voting than just that, Like there's so many other things to vote for. There's the propositions, there's the even like the local like provisions.
Yeah.
Like I think this year there was like three props. There was the abortion prop and then the two gambling ones. Which I'm kind of sad they didn't pass because I was trying to like make bets on my phone. But anyways, I knew that was a long shot. But that was like a blowout though. Like it was like 87% no. I didn't think it would be that bad. But
Well, it was too confusing. No, according to the news, no one knew what they meant because it went back and forth so much that no one knew what Prop 26 and 27 really was.
well, I know
So,
I feel like the ads for Prop 27 were very or overwhelmingly like on the no vote,
yeah,
and I think like the messaging kind of just it made people just like have a picture in their mind of like what it is or what it meant, and they were just like, oh yeah, that sounds bad because in the commercials it sounds bad.
I
So,
know.
so go now.
I know this sounds terrible, but
And I
it's
mean,
so.
it does sound like. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's like I get it why people voted no, and like my yes, like my reasoning for voting yes is like completely like selfish and like like I'm
That's
just trying to
okay.
like make bets on DraftKings or whatever.
Right.
Um, but I
Yeah,
get it. It like takes away from like the native.
I know. That's the only thing I saw in this. Every time is the small groups of Native Americans looking somber, like, don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, people aren't gonna stop going to casinos, so that's what I would say.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
the money goes to like homeless initiatives, or so they said. So I always try to just throw that in there.
Yeah.
It's like when a homeless person's like, break into your garage, don't come crying back to me because I told you to vote yes.
That's not quite how it works, but that's
So
fine. That's
gotta
fine.
gotta lay down that fear mongering,
You got to make people afraid if you want to bet on your phone, bro.
Yeah. But then there was also other things. I know there was a term limits for our local board of supervisors.
Did that pass?
It did.
So two, they're down to two.
Yeah, two 4-year terms.
Is it
So yeah,
retroactive?
that I don't know. I'm not sure, but I know one of the supervisors got voted out.
Okay. Letitia Perez, I think.
Yeah, she got replaced. I never really saw any advertisements like against her, but I heard they were like brutal. I was hearing from like people at work that they seemed that they're just like laying it on her like back and forth, like left and right.
Well, she's been
So
there a long time and she hasn't really done anything.
yeah, I mean, I'm all for like term limits because
Yeah.
you can't just have people serve for fucking like 25 years. Like that's
I am for term limits across the board from city council members all the way up to the fucking Supreme Court. All of it. If we had term limits in the Supreme Court, things would be different. A lot different. Because progressive people would be able to be, you know, if you have somebody, the court doesn't change for 20 years and then 3 of them die, like what just happened, or retire, then this radical shift happens, like this huge, everybody goes, oh, wait, fuck a minute, but if you replace these people every 8 years, then you're going to get that slow shift, that slow transition, and progressivism is going to occur. Like we've had people in the fucking Senate for 50 years. Things aren't like they were in 1970, Pelosi. It's time for you to move on.
yeah, I agree. The only thing I would say though is I think I wouldn't have term limits on the Supreme Court, but I would have like age limits. Like you got to retire at like I would say 70 at the max,
Okay, that works.
because that way it's like because I feel like the Supreme Court's a very it's just a different like I see it very differently compared to like Congress and the presidency. Like the things that they do, I feel like they would not benefit from like the constant like turnover. You know,
Yeah, I see that, but don't you see my point here? Like,
because I mean the Supreme Court is not meant to like Congress. They're designed to like make laws and change laws and make amendments and all this stuff, right?
yeah,
And the Supreme Court is just meant to like uphold those things. So in like a perfect world, like the Supreme Court wouldn't really be making many like big well they wouldn't be making like decisions that like cause huge like shifts in how our society works,
right.
because they would just be following the laws made by Congress, if that makes sense. So
Yeah, I see that. But the Constitution is 200, what is it, 250 years old, some shit like that. So
yeah,
you gotta think there's technology and cultural shifts and political shifts, and there's all kinds of things, and younger people think differently. And so we've got all these 70, 80-year olds on there. I've been on the court since 1983. Well, that you're not plugged in anymore, man. You're I think making laws about horse and buggies went away, but they're still in that mindset of making laws about horse and buggies, or upholding laws about horse and
yeah,
buggies. When things change, and now you're making laws about shit that you don't even understand, about social media, and the way shit works now is completely different than when you entered into the court.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like I think an age limit should for Congress definitely term limits, but because Congress are more like they're more in it for like the money, you know.
Yeah.
Like there ain't no Supreme Court justice like getting like all this. They're not getting all the perks that Congress people get when it comes to like gifts and bribes and all that shit.
Right.
So I do think term limits for them should be applied, but for the Supreme Court, I would be okay with like age limit, and I would cap it at like 70.
I'd call
I
it
think after
75
I think
because
after 70, people start getting like senile and like get that dementia stuff.
that dementia stuff. Thanks,
So it's
bro.
like,
That means I have fucking 12 years of my life left before I
yeah.
get the dementia stuff.
I mean, enjoy it.
I'm going to,
That's all I can
man.
say.
I am going to.
Because I mean, yeah. So I don't. I've never like. It sounds pretty bad, but I've never really understood why there's so many like older people are deciding like the future of like generations to come when they won't be there to like see the consequence of their actions.
Well, using
And I
that,
mean, you could call it like I don't even know what you would call that, like barbarian or like anarchist. But you know, if it was up to me, I wouldn't say I would do it, but I would heavily consider like a voting age like limit, like
okay.
maximum voting age maximum. Like you're gonna have a minimum. I would at least think about it. You know,
Are you a fan of Logan's Run, or is that
I don't know what that is. Is that like
Logan's
a?
Run is a sci-fi book by I think it's Aldous Huxley wrote it, but it's age 35, and that you get euthanized at age 35 because you become useless.
I mean, I don't. I wouldn't go that far, but
Would you
I
not?
mean, no. But I don't know. I just think when you have so many like older people, and to me, like older is not like 50s or like 60s. It's like old people, like late 70s, 80s, 90s, and
Yeah,
like voting. And I mean, like you said, their mindset is stuck in like 1955.
yeah, it is. They don't have an understanding of the transition to modern life.
And the thing is, those people have a lot of power because they're the ones that don't have shit to do all day, so they could vote left and right. You know, like they vote. I think like the voter turnout for like older people is like the highest out of any age group.
Yeah.
So the oldest people that kind of have like the least progressive mindset are the ones that in some ways or in many ways make like the most impact in how the country's gonna go. Like that just seems like completely backwards to me. That's why I was so glad to see the young turnout so high because
Yeah.
they kind of cancel each other out.
Well, get some candidates in the 30s to 40 or 30 to 50 age group and push them hard, get them in there and change that. But I have a lot. I did not have an understanding of age until I acquired it. We'll call
Yeah,
it
I mean,
that.
I think it's one of those things that you can't really
Yeah. It just kind of
understand
dawns
until it
on you all of a
happens.
sudden like, oh shit. So I didn't realize that when I was in my 20s, I didn't know. I didn't fucking know, dude. I had no idea that somebody in their 60s, I didn't know what wisdom was. And now I do. It's just experience. And you can't have that until you have experience. And I will say that like people who suffer trauma and get over it, like combat veterans and rape victims and victims of crime, when you have those big incidents happen to you in life and you get over them, not get over them, but you acquire that knowledge and you integrate it into your life, that's the wisdom part. That's where it's coming from.
Yeah.
So you can't have that experience until you have that experience, and it's cool. I get it. Like we talked about it last time. I totally get I totally remember being 20 and looking at somebody like in their 50s and thinking, "Shut the fuck up. You don't. You. I'm the future of this country." Well, now the future is here, and I look back and I'm like, "Okay, I get it. I didn't know, and I wish I would have said, sat down and talked to these people my age. I do, and I'm not saying, I'm better than all of you. I'm just saying, everybody, calm down. Let's all talk and make a plan here. You know?
Yeah, and I mean that kind of like cycle is like inevitable. Like
Yeah,
it's always going to be there because the younger generations always like they have the ability to look back at what the previous generations did and how they thought and the decisions that they made, and then they're able to take that information and kind of adjust their beliefs and mindset to it,
right.
so they're able to see like the good things that came out of the stuff that previous generations did. They're able to see the bad things,
Yeah,
and with that they're able to mold their own belief system. So they're always going to be more progressive, the younger generation, regardless of time period. When I'm 65, people, young people are going to be calling me like an idiot and all this stuff.
right. Your
That's completely,
progressive ways back in the fucking 2020 is you're an idiot.
yeah. So
Yeah,
that's like very like I said, it's inevitable, that cycle. So I think what we have to do is kind of find a way to, like you said, just talk it out to where there's not such a big like divide. So by that I mean like being able to kind of almost not merge the ideas, but like communicate them. Because I feel like people in each like generation or every like couple generations, their belief system is like hardwired. They
yeah,
don't change them.
yeah. It,
So
it become you become.
like you're just stuck in that like time period of beliefs, if that makes sense.
Well, it's kind of like I don't personally have it, but it's kind of like fear because progressivism takes chances, and to tell an older person, you need to take chances. That guy's like going to be like, I don't know, I'm safe, and the belief system that I have is keeping me that way. For you to tell me that I need to change and I may lose my Social Security, I might, there's all the things that they pump fear into everybody. So that older guy can't recover. That older girl can't recover like a young
Right.
person can. So they have to be more careful.
Yeah. So I think if we find a better way to kind of like alleviate that fear, at least,
Yeah.
I think we'd have a better ability to kind of like I said, not merge, but just understand better,
Yeah.
and kind of come to like a common ground or like,
Well, take any example of a person who, you know, makes a mistake and everybody instead of asking them, why they did what they did, they just blame them for the mistake. But if you sat down and you said, "Okay, why did you make the decisions that you made?" and that person comes up with this logical reason and you know, the endeavor failed, but you can see that the reasons for the failure uh, are valid and it's okay. At least he tried. We just tend to say, "You failed, get the fuck out of the way."
yeah, patience is very low
So,
in that aspect.
well, any therapist you go to, any place you work at now, the one of the huge buzzwords is communication. You need to communicate with each other, and we do, and that's what we're doing, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to understand, like I'm trying to understand the MAGA movement. I struggled, and for a while I was very dismissive, but I get it. That fear mongering driven is driven deep into our culture now, and when people are afraid, they do weird things. So
Yeah, and I mean I think the MAGA movement kind of it's like it's past its peak.
yeah, it's on the decline.
So which is, I honestly thought it would last longer. Just based on like the impact I saw and like the numbers,
Yeah. Well, Occupy Wall Street, I thought that would last for a long time. It lasted for a summer. There's a lot of things that I guess very powerful that don't last, but I didn't want to see the MAGA movement last because it was turning violent, and I
Yeah.
think that's where it failed. You can't you can't scare people with, we'll take over the Capitol, or we're bringing guns, or and all the things that came out of that. I think the violence was too much for the American people.
Yeah. See, I think also what happened was it became like it just stopped working after Trump lost,
Hmm.
because right after he lost there was like this big belief of like, the election was stolen and like something's going to happen and it's going to get overturned and like all this stuff. And I mean, obviously none of that was ever going to happen. So when it didn't happen, it was kind of like a oh, like a oh moment. Like, so
Yeah.
like what's nothing's going to happen. We're just going to let him get away with it, type of deal. And I think that like disillusioned a lot of people.
I think
So
so. When um when Trump lost the electron, yeah, that's some shit
because I mean,
happens.
imagine if someone tells you like they're yelling in your face, like they stole this, like, you know, they literally robbed us.
Yeah.
But then those same people see you do nothing about it. Like that's gotta instill like some sort of doubt. Like I don't care who you are, like even like psychologically, like that instills like, doubt and second guessing and like, well, you just said they stole this and it's like the biggest robbery in US history and like all this stuff.
And there's
There's
no
so much
evidence for it.
so much voter fraud. Like what? It's like you're like laying the groundwork. Like you're in their head. They're like, all right, something's gonna happen. Something big's about to go down, and then nothing happens. Like that does something to people. I think, like internally, and like subconsciously, like to where they become disillusioned. They feel betrayed. They feel, you know, ignored or whatever. And I think that's a big thing that happened.
Yeah. When the red wave did not. I think that was the end. I think that was the biggest. It lopped the head of
Yeah.
the demon off.
Yeah, and then I mean, you hear like they heard all over leading up to the midterms, like this red wave, this red tsunami, like it's gonna be a bloodbath, all this stuff, and then none of that, none of it happens, and I mean none of it. You know, you gotta feel like so defeated at that point if you're like your typical like Republican voter,
Well, yeah,
and
I'm
especially if you're
sorry that
like
I
your
didn't vote, but
typical MAGA.
at the same time, it was a way for me to step back and look at why I vote, and I never want to become an automatron of, I just vote because it's time to vote. I want to vote because I'm engaged in it, and I want to live my life because I'm engaged in it, not because it's happening to me. And so it was really a good time for me to step back and reflect on, okay, I've voted every year for almost 40 years. I've never missed an election, even when I was overseas. It's just, I missed one. I felt kind of lost at the end of the day. And even when I threw away my ballot, here's some crazy shit, man, that I went through. That I took the ballot back out of the trash and I tore it up. I was like, okay, that takes care of it. And then I thought, well, I could run up to the church and vote. I could do it. I still have time. And it when it ended, when the polls closed, it was this profound I didn't do something for the first time in almost 5 or 4 decades. So what's going on here? And I sat down and did some self-reflection, which is what we all need to do in times in our life. But I was glad I did. I was glad I abstained because it made me think, okay, I'm voting because it's important to vote. It's important to me. And when I didn't vote, it affected me negatively. So I'll not miss another one, but it was a good time for me to sit back and go, all right, why do I do this?
Yeah. And I mean, you can't, like, I've heard of like forced voting and,
Yeah.
all these things. And I'm still like, I honestly don't know, like, if that's like a good idea. I know some countries, like, you have to vote.
Yeah.
But I definitely do think that there are things we can do to, like better promote, like, voting,
Yeah.
like giving people the day off or making it more accessible, stuff like that.
I don't know how
So,
it could become any more accessible
well,
in
that's because we live in California.
in California. I mean,
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's more than just California. In California, you could vote like in every school, every high school in town.
yeah.
There's some places where you can only vote in one place in the entire county. You
Yeah,
know,
that's true. And no mail-ins. So
so I mean, imagine if in Kern County you could only vote like downtown, like a downtown post office or something. Can you imagine?
where there's only two old people doing everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
know. I I'm very thankful that I live in California. I know everybody. We have a fucking massive problems here, with the water and the pollution and the crime, the homelessness. You could just list everything in California that's wrong, and that's what everybody sees. And I think that's what we were talking about earlier. I think it's easier for the younger generation to look back and see all the wrong things and go, aha, see, you didn't know what you were doing. So it's easy for the rest of the country to look at California and see what's happening with the homelessness and the crime and the fucking expenses and the taxes. You guys are fucked up. But here's a little podcast in the middle of Kern Valley, just pointing out some things like we can vote anywhere we want and we can vote mail in, and it's real easy to live here and vote here. And California is a really special place. I wish we could solve all the big problems that we have because we have a lot going for us, and I love it here. I
yeah, I mean,
sometimes I want to move, and sometimes I don't.
there's always going to be. I mean, we're the most populated state by like a big margin.
Yeah,
Then we have like 10 million more people than the second biggest state.
Texas.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's only logical and expected that the people with the most, or the state with the most people, is going to have like, the biggest problems or like the most problems because it's
Yeah,
where all the people are.
it's what I
Of
tell
course,
people.
you're not going to have huge, homeless or like economic, uh, or inflation problem in like Nebraska.
Yeah, right.
There's like 10 people there.
But you're gonna have some tornadoes. So
So it's like, that's one thing that people don't really seem to get is like the way things just happen or the way things work, based on like numbers and stuff like that.
yeah, that's how I explain it to people back back east, and they say you guys have a lot of problems, and I'm like, listen, we if you think of the infrastructure as a net, the more people you put in that net, the more it's going to groan under its own weight, and that's what's happening here. And we are progressive enough to figure this out. I think we are. The biggest problem we have, I think, is the water situation. if we could solve the water situation, all this other stuff just becomes voting issues. And like what we did here in Kern County, like you pointed out, the term limits. That's a good thing,
Yeah.
and it needs to happen. I was going to ask you: is it possible that we, as a state, could vote for term limits for our own congressman?
Um, like the state congressman.
Yeah,
Um, I don't
like the
know.
senators, like all of a sudden California
Right.
would say we're going to put term limits on senators.
Um,
I don't.
I think so. I think there's states that have that actually. I feel like that sounds very familiar. Um,
We need to do that. Congressmen and senators say
yeah.
in California you can only run twice. Thank you very much. Go away, Kevin McCarthy. Go.
Yeah, I think that is like a thing. I'm not sure though. I'd have to double check. But
All right.
that I feel like I've heard that from a different state before.
I like it.
So but yeah, I agree. It's definitely something that's a good thing, especially in politics because once you're like once you're in politics for so long, it just like it consumes you, you know.
Yeah,
And it's not even about like the people anymore. It's about you and like getting reelected and all this BS.
I have this weird, running out of time here, but I have this weird idea. I think that if a person would run for office, and now that we live in this age of information where you could get any information you want, doesn't matter what it is, unless it's classified. If McCarthy would say, "Okay, I'm going to run for, I'm going to run on this platform. Whenever something comes up for vote, I'm going to put that online. I'm going to, you can abbreviate it all you want, but tell me what it's about." And then the American people could go online, Californians could go online, read what that's about, and tell Kevin McCarthy, vote no on that. That would be the most popular candidate in history. I'm just voting. And whenever, someone comes to him and says, "Well, why'd you vote for that?" He could just look back and say, "Look, the people of California told me what to do, and I did it." That's a politician. That's the way it should be. He's doing what I tell him to do, or what the majority of us tell him to do.
Yeah. And it kind of it's like representative democracy and like it's like
Yeah,
rawest form almost, you know?
yeah. If every time there was something, a city council meeting, and for the last month before that city council meeting, you could go online and see what they're going to talk about, what they're going to vote about, and you're allowed to go in there and say no, or yes, I want that. Then city council meetings would be abbreviated, and here's what my constituents want. I'm voting it. I'll see you later. It boils it down.
If only it was that easy.
Yeah, I would love it to be. Why couldn't it be that easy?
Well, it could, but if only it was
I mean,
actually
dating
made
has
that easy.
become that easy. Swipe left. I didn't want that.
Actually, this past semester in school, I wrote a paper on electronic voting and what, like, all the hurdles and legal issues, moral issues, safety
Yeah,
issues that would bring.
yeah,
And it's a very complicated, like it's an easy thing to suggest, oh, electronic voting, just, we do everything on our phone. Why can't we vote? And I get there are like safety concerns when it comes to like voting,
right.
like if your Tinder account gets hacked versus your, state election, one of those is a lot more serious.
I know, because you don't want to end up on a date with somebody you don't like.
So it's like it's a very nuanced like topic and complex topic, but I do think it's something we should pursue because I do think that that is the like the future of voting, and
Wouldn't
I
that
don't think
be?
we shouldn't let our like concerns or fears like prevent us from at least pursuing it.
Yeah. If there
It's
was an
like a
ironclad security system where you just couldn't get in, no matter what you did.
yeah,
Yeah, I think voter turnout would be phenomenal. We would have way better candidates, and recounts would take 3 seconds.
yeah.
So I get it. I think it would be wonderful, but
It's
you
still
know,
a ways away, but we can hope.
well, maybe by the time you're my age, that'll be happening, and then people your age will be having some other fucking problems, and you'll look back and go, "Shut up," and the cycle continues.
Exactly.
All right, man. What are you gonna do today?
I have a bunch of homework.
Oh, I'm
Honestly,
sorry. I
it's
have a
fine.
bunch of podcasts.
I actually have to watch this movie that it's like an actual movie, not like a documentary or something.
Yeah.
It's called Beautiful Mind,
Oh, it's a great movie, dude.
and I've never actually seen it. It reminds me a lot of for some reason, like I'm like a little bit halfway because I started last night.
It's not Russell
Yeah,
Wilson.
not Russell Russell Crowe.
Russell
You mean?
Russell Crowe, no Russell Wilson. He's a quarterback.
Yeah.
I'm old, man. Fuck off.
I'm like a little bit more than halfway through, so it's a really good movie. It reminds me a lot of the I don't know why it reminded me of the Imitation Game. Have you seen that one?
No.
The Imitation Game is about what is that guy? Alan Turing.
Oh, the Turing test.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like a movie about Alan Turing, and it's I mean it's around the same time period, so maybe that's why it reminded me of it. But just like the like almost like the way the character is presented, they're
Yeah.
very like similar.
Kind of
Um,
so smart they're detached.
yeah, like
Yeah.
that kind of person.
It's
So
cool.
yeah,
I'm
so I have
gonna.
to watch the movie and then just like write a like review and my thoughts about it. So,
All right. That's cool. I'm gonna do this podcast, and then I gotta work on. I gotta work on my fitness stuff and write some emails, and I'm gonna watch Passengers today.
the movie.
Yeah.
Have I seen? Oh, that's the one with Jennifer Lawrence, huh?
Yeah. Where they wake up
In space and
in
stuff.
space. He sends a message. He's like, "What do I do?" And then they say the message will arrive in 55 years.
Have you ever seen Arrival?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I did.
I was gonna say if you haven't seen it, I would watch that one instead because
Yeah, I've
Arrival to
seen
me
that.
is like a very good movie. Like
Okay.
to me, it's like top 10. Just I love movies that are very like that. They have like a twist at the end,
Yeah,
but that kind of like blows your mind.
yeah. I didn't see that coming.
So
Yeah,
Arrival and like Interstellar does that for me too. I
I'm
love
a big
Interstellar.
Matthew McConaughey fan until I read his book. So
He has a book. I didn't even know he had a book.
yeah, it's. I don't remember the name of it. I was a huge
I mean,
Matthew
he's from
McConaughey.
Texas, so I mean, I can imagine what's in it.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that sometime, but it's very uncomfortable.
I can imagine.
All right, Holmes. Have a good weekend. Have a good week. We'll see you
You
next
too,
week,
man.
unless you got to work.
That should be good.
All right. This has been the Thoroughly Wrong Project. We've had a 2-year run now that we found out about. We're feeling pretty good about ourselves. This has been Bob,
And Lalo,
and I'll see you next week, brother.
later, man.
Later. You have now experienced the Thoroughly Wrong Project with your podcast hosts, Lalo and Bob. We can now be found on Pandora Radio, Apple Podcasts, Podium Podcast, or by searching The Thoroughly Wrong Project to locate our YouTube channel. You can contact us directly by email at thoroughly.wrong@gmail.com or just leave a comment on any of our platforms. Until next time,
Thanks for spending your valuable time with us, and remember, always speak up and never be afraid to be thoroughly wrong.